Hey YouTube, Jake Kilroy here. We're back in action. I got my little dinky 3mm end mills for cutting the keyways in the keyway in the new shaft for the power feed mount, and so we're going to cut that and continue work on the power feed adaptation. Just as a quick refresher, if you haven't seen the other videos, we're adapting a Shaw's 150 power feed to a mill that a Hurco Bridgeport clone that's a Condia brand, or it's marketed as a Condia, Hurco, Clausing, Bridgeport clone, and this mill happens to have a Series 2 size table, so none of the traditional mounts fit, so we're having to do some changes. You can go back and look at the other videos if you'd like to catch up. And what we're doing today is we're cutting the key slot for this little bitty tiny 3mm key that goes on this bronze drive gear for this power feed. The factory, where's the factory crank? Well, I think I've misplaced. Oh, here it is, right here. So the factory crank used a big old 1/4" key right here, and here's the one that I am making to replace it, so you can see some of the obvious changes here. So I didn't have a 3mm end mill, had to order one. Never order anything 3mm in diameter one at a time, because the odds of breaking one of these little boogers is quite good. So we are going to step over to the big K and T. I know it sounds like an odd fit, and we are going to cut a 3mm key virtually the entire length of this portion of the shaft here. So let's get over there and do that. Alright, we're over at the crane trekker. We're going to cut the 3mm groove in this shaft, and you're probably saying to yourself right about now, Kilroy, what are you thinking? Why in the world would you cut a 3mm end mill in a machine like this that has a spindle speed slower than Christmas? And this is why. This is a spindle speeder. This is something you don't see much of anymore in the today's day and age of 25,000 RPM, 50 taper mills, and shrink fit end mill holders, and all that high tech stuff. You don't see these a lot anymore. But what this is a it's a spindle speeder made by Yuasa. It's a 4-to-1 ratio. It uses a planetary drive. It drives the same direction as the mill, and here's the Tommy bar set up and all that. So I'm going to bring the camera in here a little closer so you can see this, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about this in detail before we make the cut. Alright, so what you have here, turn the label around so you can see it. You also high speed multiplier, max capacity 3/8 of an inch. And that's the size of the shank, the end mills that we're using. These little 3/8 inch, these little 3mm solid carbides have a 3/8 inch shaft. And there's a Tommy bar set up right here, which I don't know that you can see. Just a second. So I made this little setup here a while back for a couple of different attachment that I have that use Tommy bars, and it's just there's a threaded hole in this location already, and this is a just a chunk of aluminum that I hold in here with a 5/8 inch bolt. Then I use one of my 1/2 inch by 13 threaded studs from my hold down set to stop the bar. So there you go. The collet on the bottom here, I think, is a proprietary style collet. It looks kind of like a TG collet, but it's too long. And then so there's the collet, and it clips in. It has a wire ring that goes in here, and it clips in. And then what you have is that collet's permanent. And then what you have is little accessory collets that go in here that neck this collet down to, in this case, 3/8 of an inch. And I've also got a drill chuck that can go in there directly. So you screw that in like so, and then you can drill with a tiny little drill bit in your 50 taper machine without a sensitive quill. So good luck with that. I'm going to take that out. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use a 3/8 inch, this 3/8 inch adapter collet, and mount this up. It's a snug fit. And I'm going to leave a little stick out there because I need it. Alright, and before we get set up here, just to give you an idea so you can see this thing running, I'm going to go ahead and fire the machine up. So that's a 4-to-1 ratio. I think right now we're spinning in at 487 RPM, so roughly 500 RPM. So our end mill there is hitting about 2,000, which is beyond the max capacity of this machine. But we're going to run it faster than that when we make the cut. But I just wanted to show you now, as far as the Tommy bar setup goes, I want you to notice that I have this set up off the head. If you spin this around and look back at the back, right, you can see how it's quite a bit of a distance back there to where you would hit the main collar of the machine. You'd have to have a 1.5 foot long bar or so in order to catch the side of the machine back there, and that's not safe. And you know, the primary reason that's not safe, you think about it, if something was to happen to this mount and all of a sudden this was to come free, and I'm standing about here where I think I'm standing, this thing was all of a sudden to come free, it was to swing around a 1.5 foot of metal at you know, if it came off the machine and came around, it could strike me in the head and face and the throat, and I could bleed out in 5 minutes. So The other reason it's good to have it attached to the head, because if you attach something to the table, like let's say you had a stud coming off the table that came up and intersected the Tommy bar here. If you were sitting here working, the machine was running, and you lowered the table, the Tommy bar broke free, then you stood up into it, wham, you could lose a finger, lose a hand. So you just have to be careful. So this is the spot. This is a good spot for it right here, and it never. It's not going to cause you any problems, and I can adjust it by changing the length of this stud, just threading in a different stud whenever I need to. Alright, we got the workpiece mounted in the vise here on a stack of parallels. The 8-inch vise jaws are 3 inches tall, so, and we got it sitting in here. We're going to take our A-bomb approved lead knocker and give it a good wrapping, tighten it up. Alright, we got the cutter mounted, we got the workpiece mounted. We're going to come down here and start finding center. I don't know if you can see that. Got a little mark right there on the surface. Alright. We are mounted in the workplace. We found center. I've locked down. Sorry for the bobbing action. I locked down the Y axes, and now we're going to lower the quill up here. There's a movable quill. Let me get the camera and show you. What you see here is I got an indicator set up touching on the bottom of the speeder. This is the movable quill. It's 7 inches in diameter, and then I've got my indicator zeroed out. I got my cutter touching, and I want to come down, vibrating a little bit there. I want to come down about 0.059. Excuse me. So we're taking about half our depth of cut here. And we're feeding it 2.2 inches a minute. We got quite a cut to take, so I'll be back with you in a second. Alright, we finished the first pass, and I put the indicator back on here, zeroed it up here, and fed down the remainder of our cut to finish up this cut for this little bitty dinky key. Let's fire it up and go back the other direction. That's smart, Kilroy. I just polluted my magnet mirror with chips. Okay, let's get a piece of 3mm key stock and let's test this baby out. Alright. There we go. Looking good. Let's get this baby out of here and take it over to the bench. So, proof is in the pudding. There we go. Get the key out of there. We got a nice snug fit between the gear and the shaft, and the key fits in there very nicely. Come on out. Very, very nicely. There we go. So we have our keyway cut. Alright, so we've made our cut. I went and dismounted the spindle speeder, and so I can give you a closer look at it. So I'm going to bring the camera in here a little closer, and we're going to take a kind of a detailed viewing of this as far as the device goes. Alright, here's the unit. It is 50 taper with an integral arbor. This coating on here is, I don't use this thing very often, so I've got it coated down in anti-rust coating for storage. Here's the bottom where the collet attaches. And like I said, it's a single angle style collet. Alright, here's the actual collet. Here's the collet nose. And then here's the actual collet with this retaining ring. So it is kind of it's not a piece of wire, it's actually built into the collet. So I don't really know if that's a type of collet you can actually buy or not. But it looks pretty different as far as I'm concerned. And then it clicks in here just like an ER style or a TG style, so it clicks in. And then these little accessory collets, little piece there, slides up in here and holds the smaller, that's actually the maximum diameter. Here's another size. I got a few sizes there. Then, and again, this is the drill chuck, a little adapter, kind of unusual setup, it's threaded in like that. And it's actually a Jacob's chuck, #1 taper, that's what that is. Chuck is a 7-1A 0 1/4 inch capacity. So there you go, it's nice. Overall, the speeder's extremely well made. It's very nice, very smooth, and you know, like I said, you don't see these very often anymore. Comes with you know, here's the Tommy bar, and which threads in right here, threads in here, and comes with a little wrench for tightening that up. Here's a 23mm wrench for holding the spindle to tighten. So it is a nice setup. And then here's my Tommy bar mount that bolts into that hole, just a regular 5/8 inch bolt. And then I use this washer to space it up off the face a little bit, It's an irregular surface. And then this is just tapped 1/2 by 13. So I can use whatever length I need based on the piece of equipment I'm using at that time. So there you go. That is kind of the full meal deal. Let me go weigh this thing. I'm interested in see what it weighs. Alright, weighs 18.5 pounds. The model number, it says made in Japan, number 521-405. They make a variety of these. One of them, these are all 4-to-1s. Then on the smaller spindle sizes, like for 30 taper and R8, I believe they make a 7-to-1. And it comes with a nice little instruction manual here. And the instruction manual gives you cutting speeds for type of material in surface feet per minute with high speed and carbide tools, and then recommended RPM based on the size of the cutter. And again, the max is 3/8 of an inch. The max RPM for the whole device for this thing, they don't want you running it past 10,000. And then they give you an example of how to walk through calculating your speed and feed. And maintenance says they're sealed units. After 6,000 hours of use, it's advisable to dismantle for cleaning and greasing. And then here are all the different models that tell you which one you have. This is NT50 right here, which is that unit. They have them all the way down to, they have a quick change, a straight shank, NT30, NT40, Morse taper 3 and 4, and then an R8 for a Bridgeport, which is those all tap out at 1/4 inch capacity. So anyway, let me show you the rest of it. So the whole thing came in this really nice box. Manual up in here. And, there we go. Fits up in there, and then there's goes down in there. The little collets go in here. Tommy bar here. And wrenches. So nice little case. Like I said, I don't use this thing very often. And but I tell you, when you need it, it is mighty useful. And anyway, I keep this in here with it. So there we go. Alright, so there we go. We didn't get a lot of machine work done this episode, but our 3.5 millimeter, our 3 millimeter key is cut. We're making progress. The next thing we're going to start on in the next video will be this. We got to lay in another set of 4 holes for our adapter ring, and then we've got to draw up and make our adapter ring to actually mount the unit on the machine. So hold on, Jackpot. Cat's talking to me. I hope you enjoyed looking at the spindle speeder. It's like I said, it's not something you see very often. It certainly comes in handy. In my experience, small end mills are generally broken due to feed issues. So the reason I wanted to cut it over there on the big machine is because it has power feed. Obviously the Hurco doesn't, because that's what we're working on. So I wanted to get this, I wanted to cut this on a machine that's power feed, because I thought a better chance of both the end mills making it out alive, which they did. Speaking of the end mill that I got, this is a Tool Mix, 3mm solid carbide. It's a Polish end mill, 2 flute, worked out just fine. And again, next video we're starting here. I'd like to say hi to a few guys out there. Donald Cossett. Always enjoyed Don's videos. If you're not checking out Don, make sure and check his channel out. Randy Richards, who's been working on his Lance lathe and doing some gear making and all sorts of really great work. Not to mention his son has been building the heaviest spare tire holder known to humankind. Been enjoying Randy's videos a great deal. A lot of fun there. Chuck Bomarito. What's there to say about Chuck? What a goof, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. Love your videos, a lot of fun, always a good time, which is really what this should always be about, is about enjoying yourself. So Chuck's got it right. He knows how to have a good time. Watch the video over there at Tom Lipton's for the 52nd meatloaf. Always like me some meatloaf. And they had a bunch of guys over there, including Chuck, and it was just a really good time. Looks like they had a good time, and that's what this whole community is all about. It's hanging out, right? And so, you know, there you go. Be back soon. Be safe in the shop.